You're tuning in to the Black Hollywood Live Network, featuring news, interviews, and commentary on all things Black Hollywood. Hollywood redefined. From Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is Black Hollywood Live. Next, featuring intimate and in-depth interviews with Black Hollywood's next edition of stars and influencers. Black Hollywood Live. Hollywood redefined.
You're listening to Black Hollywood Live.
And now, the host for Black Hollywood Live, next.
Welcome to another episode of Black Hollywood Live Next. You see that song in the background? Mm-hmm. Got a little Molly music going on for you this week. And as always, you know, right here on Black Hollywood Live Next, we always have who's hot, who's next up in the industry. Today is no exception.
Oh, yes.
I am your host, Megan Thomas. You can hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Meg Scoop. And who are you, lovely lady?
Hey guys, I'm Courtney Tezeno. You guys can keep in touch with me at Teznos on Twitter and Instagram.
Yes, and be sure to use the hashtag BHL Next if you have any questions for our guest today, or if you just want to make a comment, because we love hearing all your comments.
Yes.
Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. It's right there. Just click the button.
5 stars, please.
Subscribe.
5 stars.
Give us 5 stars on iTunes, and also you can always download all of our stuff on SoundCloud as well. So, let me tell you who we have today. This beautiful actress. You've seen her everywhere, okay? And if you've not seen her, that means you've been asleep or in a coma.
Yeah.
Because she has literally been on everything. You've seen her on Owns, If Loving You Is Wrong, every Tuesday, 9, 8 Central. You've also seen her slapping the bejesus out of Kevin Hart on the funny and hilarious movie Get Hard. Give it up for Edwina Findley!
Hey! Oh, lovely.
I'm like, that slap though. The slap. We'll talk about it later, but it was so hilarious. I was like, this girl, you better slap him.
Hey,
you better let him know he can't call you
I got
that.
some exercise with my hand.
Okay. Wrist game on point.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about some casting news. What we have coming up. Yeah, let's clap that up. Clap that up. Yeah. So some casting news. This is really hilarious when I saw it. Tyler Perry is now, he's behind the camera all the time, but guess what? He is stepping in front of the camera yet again, and he's going to be in the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 movie. He's doing a lot of...
What is he? Do you know what character he is?
Yes, he is going to be playing Baxter Stockman, an inventor. He's kind of paranoid, a little crazy, and he's going to be joining forces with Shredder. So he's a bad guy in this movie.
Look at this.
Right.
I'm happy to see this. I mean, we love Madea. We love when he's Madea. But I'm happy to see that he's going to be doing this and really pushing the envelope with this one.
Right. He was in Alex Cross as the main character. He's also, if you saw Gone Girl, he was in there as well.
Yeah.
So I know you've worked with him. I know he's your boss.
Right.
What is it? Is it weird to see him he's an actor, or do you always think of him in director producer mode?
You know what? It's funny because I think most of the world probably sees the duality, right? I think of him as, we've coined the term artist CEO, right? I have an organization called Abundant Life, and we're doing a whole program called Artist CEO, and I feel like Tyler Perry is exactly that, because he is the Madea character, and he was, starring in Alex Cross, and he also just did Gone Girl, and he's obviously about to appear in this, but then he's got this exceptional producer mind, owner mind. The studios down in Atlanta are incredible. And he's expanding into every market.
Right.
Plays, movies, TV shows, books, you name it. So I think he's a master of quite a few trades.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes. So make sure you check out Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, summer 2016.
All right.
What's going on
we
with
have
some
a ways
music?
to go with that. Okay, let's go ahead and get in some fresh beats. So I'm sure you guys have heard by now. It's been about a week now since Mariah Carey released her new single off her album, Number One to Infinity. It's called Infinity. Now, this is a number one hits album, so we're about to see all of the old school Mimi that we love. But this one, people are really reading into the lyrics, saying that it has something to do with Nick Cannon. She's dissing him. So I'm going to let you guys listen to a little snippet, and then we're going to get into that a little bit more.
Ain't none of my business, it's Tito. Got an ammo, got a reload. Get flat, plus a game, you're free throw. It's nothing that you don't already know. Close the door, lose the key.
Stop. She said corny like Fritos.
on the map for
She
me.
said corny like Frito. So what you trying to say, Mariah? You trying to call him corny? Trying to call your ex-boo corny?
Okay, so we're gonna get into that. So fans were really, they were tripping on these lyrics and saying like, what? She's really going in on Nick Cannon.
Got ammo, got to reload.
Yeah,
Like,
and
dang, are you trying to kill him? What's going on?
Yes, and then the fact that the chorus is mainly like there's an end to infinity means I think she's talking about her divorce, and a lot of people would agree with that. But she goes on the record and she pretty much says this has nothing to do with one particular person.
Of course.
It's up to fans to
She has to say that.
Exactly. It's up to fans' interpretation. That's what she wants to see, and it's really about loving yourself. I didn't hear the loving yourself part. I didn't hear that part.
I was yours eternally.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
There's
sounds
an end to infinity.
Yeah,
Okay.
it
I got
sounds specific. So, what do you guys think about this new single she released?
Girl, he wasn't corny when you was dating them. When y'all was frolicking on the beach with y'all's names on tatted on each other. It wasn't corny
man.
then.
I'm just a little. I'm just wondering whether that lyric may be a little corny. Corny, like
Fritos.
Corn chips. That was as good as it got.
I mean, we may be able to rewrite that lyric.
right.
But I don't know. I mean, I love Mariah. I'm still a Mariah fan from Hero. When
Right.
Hero comes along,
My
those
all.
big ballads and those beautiful numbers. And I know that there's so much subtext going back and forth in so many songs now. I try to stay out of a lot of that drama, but obviously it's a conversation starter, and I'm sure that was probably a part of the goal too, right?
Definitely.
You want the populace to talk about what you're putting out, and they are, which means that it's a success.
It's a good song that's catchy.
It is catchy. And then one other thing, Nick Cannon, he posted the cover on his Instagram like a couple days later. So I feel like that pretty much squashes things that they have like bad blood. Like he's still supporting her, saying go get this album, and it's a lot of good things that are coming up on this one. So I don't know how much we can interpret it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of times media, especially if you're a celebrity, is finding all kinds of ways to get not only in your business, but to get between you and someone else.
Yeah. Right.
And so for you to be able to make that stand and say, you know what, despite what everybody's saying, I'm supporting her. You go support her too, for their own relationship and for the sake of both being parents and having been married for so long. I say more power to him. I think that was a very mature decision.
Definitely a mature decision. And last thing, you guys, we're going to hear the kids sing on this album.
Oh,
so excited. Yes. So you guys need to make sure you check it out. It comes out on May 18th. She's going to be touring in Vegas soon. So Mimi is on the rise. And I don't know.
Them babies, honey.
Them little babies.
Them babies, what they call them.
Can we show a picture of the little cuties?
They're so cute. Oh my gosh, they're
I
so
love
cute.
them.
And you know what's funny? Can we go back to the picture where it's her album cover showing her legs? Do y'all remember, like, it's like every single album cover she has shows these perfect legs, and I'm like, girl, all they got to do is like Photoshop some new clothes on you. You don't even have to change. Like, seriously,
Yeah.
those legs look the same.
Yes.
Every album I would buy, I'd just be like, dang, her legs are nice.
Oh.
I'm like, dang, all right, girl, you don't age at all. All right, let's talk about you, Edwina, and all. I mean, you've done so much. Let's start from the very beginning.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's take it back. Okay, so you're from DC.
I am.
That is great. Did you ever imagine yourself being in the entertainment industry? What other careers did you consider before this?
I considered being a hairdresser, being a lawyer, mildly being a doctor, being a manager.
Everything.
I'm like, what else can I go to? Being a minister. There was a season where I was like, am I called to ministry?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, as a kid, I was very creative. And I was also one of those kids that was always kind of writing like one-woman shows and doing them in my bedroom, or having puppets like create a whole narrative, you know what I mean? So, I mean, there was definitely a point where my mind started drifting of all these different things I could be, but acting was always the through line. You know what I mean? Performing arts was always, from a little kid up to now, was always the most consistent thing. And when I was finishing college, I went to NYU, and that was a big step. Like, oh my goodness, am I going to go to school for acting? Am I going to go? And I got accepted to Tisch School of the Arts, and it's a very prestigious, school for drama. And once I got accepted, I said, you know what? I believe this is God's sign telling me, I'm supposed to move forward in this way. It's not an easy career, but I feel like if you're called to it, then the doors that you're supposed to
Right.
will open. And so that's what I'm really grateful for, that the doors that I've been meant to walk through have been open for me.
Yes.
Good, very good.
Yes.
And then we want to talk a little bit about your roots. So your
Okay.
family is,
Roots.
I know.
Someone just told me last night that they're about to do another Roots movie.
They are. Yes.
So I was like, Roots. All right, I'm ready.
Okay, so your family is from Liberia, West Africa.
Yes.
Did you have is there something interesting that you can tell us about your culture that has really made you the person you are today?
Yes, I mean, Liberia, and I don't know if you all know too much about the history of Liberia, but in this country, obviously we know from the slave trade, a lot of Africans were brought from West Africa to America,
Right.
and then after slavery kind of repatriated back to Africa, and where they settled was Liberia. And so there's a whole group of Liberians called the Americo-Liberians, and those are the ones who pretty much were enslaved here in the U.S. and went back to Africa. But because the indigenous population saw them as being Americans, then they
Right.
became Americo-Liberians. And so when I really began to study that while I was in college, I started having like a little bit of an identity crisis, because I'm like, I've always prided myself on being African and American, right? My mom was from California and my father's from West Africa. So I always felt like I'm African American. And then, to kind of find out about the whole Americo-Liberian, almost as though you're not African enough because you were here and then you were there.
Right.
It was just very interesting. And I think it points to just some of the cultural dichotomies that we have in our society, right?
Exactly.
There's so many, just even within, the African diaspora, there's Blacks all over the world, but then we can even begin to like subdivide ourselves
Exactly,
according to
yeah.
all these other, cultural differences. So that was really interesting. I think that it's important for all of us to really dig deeper into our heritage,
Oh, yeah.
and learn a lot more about our history.
Definitely.
Yeah.
On that note, we all need to not have these identity crises within our culture.
Right.
A lot of us do that as African Americans. But you talked a lot about NYC and in school. What would people in high school say about you now, or what did they say back then?
It's so funny. I was always really grown, right? So everyone back when I was in high school, they kind of started calling me mother, right?
Okay.
Because at that point, I had just gotten saved, and I was really just on fire for God, and it's teens do what teens do.
Right,
But I
right.
was always the one you don't need to be smoking weed. You need to put on a longer dress, daughter. You don't need to be with that young man. Go sit down. I'm like, you are 15 years old. How are you telling us what we need to do?
Right. Somebody's mom.
Right. I was like somebody's mom even back then. So they definitely teased me then. I think the same people would tease me now for that.
Right.
Because I always act older than my age, you know what I mean? But
Wise beyond your years.
right, I'm wise beyond my years. But,
Yeah.
one thing that they always felt was that I was destined to succeed. I was the president of my high school class, and I was the vice president of my junior class. And I was just one of those people that was involved in everything. So, yeah, now with the luxury of social media, Facebook, Twitter, all of that, I'm able to stay in touch with my high school friends, and they're all just so excited.
That's good.
That is amazing.
Yeah, they're excited.
Oh, okay. So I love the high school stories. I'm like,
Right,
that's
right.
where you really started, to be honest. But you studied in classical music and theater at Duke Ellington School of the Arts in Georgetown.
Yeah.
What was the biggest lesson that you learned from there?
I think the biggest lesson was that you can be multi-talented and you can develop all your talents. So I was a theater major there, but I also basically created a minor for myself in music. And then I notified the dance department that I'll be coming down there to take dance classes. And then I started traveling all over the world with the show choir.
Wow.
And I was doing student government, and I got my first TV show when I was in high school. It was Teen Summit on BET.
Oh my goodness, Teen Summit. I remember
Yes,
it.
you remember that?
I remember it.
Hosting.
I wanted to be on Teen Summit so bad, honey. I was in
that was
Kentucky
the
watching
show.
like one day. One day
time
Teen
I'm
Summit.
gonna go
One
to
day.
Teen
Oh
I'm being
my
on Teen
goodness,
Summit.
Megan, I can't.
Oh my gosh. But like doing all of that, and there were some people that said, oh, you need to focus, or you need to sit down somewhere, you swinging from the chandeliers, you're doing too much. But I feel like, especially as a young person, like that's the time when you can grow and flourish and figure out, what your strengths are. And so I would definitely say that one of the things I learned is to get in touch with all of my creativity and all my creative sides. And then I also learned that if you really want to be exceptional in something, that you have to put in the work.
Yes.
Right.
So it's not enough to just bounce around to all these different things. There's a point where you have to decide, what am I going to invest in? What am I willing to sow the discipline into, the time into, the money into, the focus into, in order to reap a harvest in this area?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, it's all about focusing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It is.
And then you have done a lot of plays. My goodness, you've done everything. As far as TV and film, which do you find the most challenging?
Between plays, TV, and film, or between TV and film?
Between TV and film.
Okay, between
And
TV
plays
and film.
too. No, I don't know.
Okay,
Plays
she
too.
want to know everything. Okay, so
All three of
theater,
them.
TV, and
Right.
film. What's the most challenging?
I would say, in some ways, I would say theater. The reason being is because in theater, you have about a month of rehearsal before you even jump into performance, right? And then within that month of rehearsal, you're doing research, you're having dialect coaches, you're having dramaturgs, you are fully going all the way in as far as just learning what this culture is, what this world is, what the historical time period is. As well as just rehearsing all of the movements, the blocking, the play from beginning to end. And you're talking about usually over 100 pages that you're learning all together. And then you're performing every night for a different audience, all the way to the back of the house. You're in the moment. Different things change and happen in one day. And you're doing that for 8 shows a week, 6 days a week. So theater, and you're getting paid substantially less than TV and film. So I would say personally that theater is one of the most challenging art forms to me, which probably is another reason why everybody's not necessarily pursuing theater, as a career. Like typically theater is where you really have to have trained. Right. It requires some muscles. It requires some real muscles. Yeah. So I would say that. But at the same time, I'm kind of just beginning to flourish in this film space, right? And so in some ways, film is a lot like plays, in the sense that when you have a lead role, especially if it's a period piece or a biopic, then that same type of work that you're doing in plays, as far as dramaturgy and dialect and all that kind of thing, you're able to pour into movies as well. So I don't know. I think it really has to do with the artist's approach. I like to go really deep. It doesn't matter. I can have one line. I can have one line.
You
literally
created this world.
And I'm like, wait, what's my motivation? Wait, what am I thinking? What's the moment before? Where did my character come from? Where is she going? What are her deepest desires and dreams? Okay, now I'm ready. Right? It's like, where some people's like, okay, it's not that deep. What's my line? Okay. Right. And then they say it. So I just really have a respect for the craft, no matter what the medium is. And I try to give it 110%.
And it shows, honey.
Thank
shows.
you.
And so in 2003, you were on The Wire as Tasha Mitchell.
Yes.
And were you filming in Baltimore at the time?
I was filming in Baltimore.
So now that we see all the stuff that's going on right now, there's the riots going on in Baltimore. Is there any difference from how Baltimore is now versus how it was when you were there filming?
Well, I definitely think that Baltimore has gentrified a lot more, in over 10 years. I mean, that's most cities in this country, and certainly most predominantly African-American cities. We see a lot of gentrification. So it definitely has. Also, I think probably the disparity between East, West Baltimore, or the different socioeconomic regions of Baltimore, the schism is probably a lot larger now because there's been so much development in certain areas. In fact, I was just watching a video the other day with a young guy, and he was kind of berating Geraldo Rivera. You may have seen that. And pretty much like, get out of our neighborhood. You all don't care about us. When we're doing amazing things, you're not here to report on it. But then also, like, you're not here to report on the disparity between that side of Baltimore and this side of Baltimore. And I can say, as someone who has filmed Veep in Baltimore for HBO, and as someone who's filmed The Wire,
there's a difference
in Baltimore HBO. There's a big difference. Big difference. One side is like 4 seasons. The other side is hoods. The other side is projects. You know what I'm saying? And so I can understand why a person can stand, in the middle and say, I want more fairness here, so I think it's unfortunate the way that I guess the pain of it all is being expressed, because I do believe that the rioting and the protesting and all that, it's rooted in a pain that has not been fully addressed. So my prayer is that we will see healing soon.
Definitely.
Prayers for Baltimore.
Yes.
Baltimore.
So in 2005, you were on One Life to Live as Nurse Messner, honey.
We taking it back.
Yes. And now One Life to Live has been on since like the 60s.
Oh, my.
So I've heard from a lot of people that when you're on a soap opera, it's so much dialogue. There's so much stuff that you have to learn in a short amount of time. Was that your experience as well, being on that set?
You know what? I think I was just so excited. Because coming out of college, especially if you've gone to school for the arts, your biggest dream is to be able to work in your profession, right? That's the biggest dream, and that's the biggest challenge. So when I came out of school and was able to, work on stage and do Shakespeare and all of that, and then do The Wire and like be a gangster, and then be like this nurse in a mental hospital on a soap opera, it was like, oh my gosh, wow! All these characters and stories, and Asa and who was Blair and all of that. I was just caught up in the drama of it, honey. I don't know. I was just so excited to be there. And like I said, I told you kind of what my work ethic is as an actress. So if it was a lot of dialogue and if it was, overwhelming, I didn't feel it because I was just so excited to be there, and I was excited to do the work with all these seasoned artists.
Yes. Right. And I know, girl, I was like, One Life to Live, I gotta go catch these clips.
I know! They're online. You can find them.
Okay, yes, I'll go look it up. Okay, so you also starred as Rosie in one of my favorite films, which is Middle of Nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
By Ava DuVernay, who you've seen, she directed Selma.
Yes.
And an amazing director. That was an indie film, but it ended up being pretty huge, and it had a lot of people following it, and people just loved it.
Yeah.
What was your reason for doing an indie film? Because, of course, at that time, you probably had no idea how huge it was going to be.
I had no idea. I don't think any of us had any idea this, just the impact that it was going to make. At that time, I was going in between 2 different TV series. I was doing Treme on HBO, and I was doing Brothers and Sisters on HBO. And I read the script, and what really struck me about it was just the honesty, the honesty and the complexity of these different people in this situation and these characters. And I felt like it would be a wonderful opportunity to be able to go underneath the layers of these people and really portray this role with honesty. And go on that journey. And so it's kind of funny because at first I was up for a different role. And then I ended up being switched over to another role. And even that was great too, because again, as an actor, and especially someone that likes to kind of shape shift, and move in and out of different characters, it was interesting kind of stepping into 2 roles and being able to see the same story from 2 different lenses.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, and working with Ava was awesome. And of course, independent film is quick. It's like it's quick. You go all in. It's a labor of love. You know what I mean? And everyone's there for a common goal. Everyone wants to just create the best art possible. And that's really a lot of times what the goal of independent film is. So for it to have gone on and just had this incredible life of its own has just really been a gift.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really.
And so you were talking about, being an actress who shapeshifts. Is there any role that you're like, I can't do that? I'm sorry, I draw the line there.
You know what? I have had to say no to nudity.
Okay.
There's some roles, there's some things that are just gratuitous, right? So what I look for is, even if there's a character, because a lot of the characters I've played, the majority of characters I've played, at least in television and film, are people from a totally different type of existence than me, who make very different choices than I would make, who are from a very different background than I'm from,
Right.
that have gone on a journey through life that I have not chosen. What it's helped me to do is be more understanding of other people, less judgmental of other people. It's forced me to place myself literally in their shoes and begin to understand their decisions and understand their journey and walk with them. And so when I feel like a story, even if it's something that I may completely disagree with, as far as this woman and why does she do this, and you know what I mean? Like, you can see a biopic where a woman kills a kid or whatever, right? And it's like, oh my goodness, what? But then as an actor, it's your job to step into this person's shoes and to understand their journey and why they chose to do what they did. What I don't particularly care for is when it's just a gratuitous situation, where it's just being exploited, where there is no real lesson, where there is no real outcome that's somehow enlightening, for the audience. In that case, it's like, is it really worth it to do this story for superficial reasons? For me, usually not.
Yeah.
What about your husband? I know you're married. Does he have like, no, baby, you can't, don't show your goods? Is he like that too? Or is he like, whatever you want to do, you can do?
It's funny because when I do like red carpets and stuff like that, I'll try on all these dresses and then I'll come in and be like, so what about this? And he'd be like, Then I nicely take my hind parts right back in that bedroom and try on another dress. And sometimes he surprises me. Sometimes I'm like, okay, this is low, it's tight. He's like, oh, that's really, really nice. That's nice. Turn around. Oh, yeah, that's nice. I'm like, it is.
You're cool? You're cool?
He's enjoying that. Okay, I'm okay. But, I don't trust myself. Like, I really feel like I need that grounding. Like, I always want to make sure I have that grounding. I always want to make sure that what I'm doing, that I bounce it off of someone else who I trust and who has wisdom and discernment and all of that, to just say, like, okay, am I on the right path? Am I on the right road? Yeah, okay, all right, praise God. If I'm not, tell me, you know what I mean, and I'll pray about it and see, do I agree with you?
Right.
And then make the appropriate adjustments. But so far, I don't think he's led me astray.
Good. That's so good. Straight and narrow.
Right.
Yes.
So then, 2010 to 2013, you were on Treme, which was an HBO show all about New Orleans and everything that happened after Hurricane Katrina. And I know you had to go there to film.
Yeah.
So what was it like to be on that set? Because there was such an amazing cast.
Oh,
Everybody's on that show. What was it like, and what did you learn from being on that show?
Oh my goodness, it was incredible. Honestly, we used to always say that the star of the show was New Orleans.
Right.
Because even that was just really a labor of love. Like, we went into it with love. Obviously in 2006 with the whole catastrophe that was Hurricane Katrina, we all watched and were transfixed, watching the news and seeing our people, being treated or at least appearing as refugees in our own land.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was tumultuous, and the trials were real. And so for there to now be a series created around it from the same creator as The Wire, and now it's a new city, a new story. I mean, that was exciting. And then also New Orleans is a place unlike any other place on this planet. And
really
so
is.
that was
So
my
different.
first time ever visiting New Orleans, was when we started shooting the pilot. And so I did, again, all this research, coming into it, because I'm like, who are the Mardi Gras Indians? And, what's this different language and this culture and this food and these costumes, this heritage, this legacy. There was so much in the show to unpack. And so myself and Clark Peters, who played my dad on the show and who also was on The Wire, we would just spend all kinds of time together, you know, just talking about the heritage, the legacy. And I love true stories too. And our family on the show was loosely based off of an actual family there in New Orleans. And it was funny because I had actually met one of the family members in New York and another one in Florida, having no idea at that time that they were that family. And then so afterward, of course, I'm calling them like, tell me your whole life story right now. Right now, I'm playing your family, tell me. Right. You know, and so that was great. And I think the biggest joy of it was how embraced we were in the community, because a lot of people from New Orleans, you know, have sort of frowned upon different shows that have claimed to show New Orleans. But with our show, so many people just felt it was so authentic, that it was so respectful to the actual events and to the actual people. And to the heritage and culture, which is in New Orleans. And so that was a blessing.
What was your favorite restaurant eating there?
Oh, you can't answer that, Megan.
I just had all these
Mr.
flashbacks.
B's.
Oh, yes.
Actually, Alfred Woodard and I used to go there, and Candy Alexander. We would go to Mr. B's because we were all down there filming. Also, there's a place called Couchon.
Okay.
Which is fabulous. If you all ever want bread pudding, it's like the most
gosh.
incredible. And then there's a place called Mother's.
Oh, yes, honey.
You know Mother's?
I know Mother's. And that line out the door.
The line all the way around
down
the corner.
the block.
What?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sure. Did you get any boudin? I always ask people that. Do you know what
Boudin?
boudin is? My family's Creole.
is it?
So boudin. It's
Boudin,
Girl,
no.
You saw it and you didn't touch it.
I saw it and I didn't know.
Yeah, but you didn't.
Why
Next
didn't you
time.
tell me? You should have told me.
Don't eat it. Don't eat it. She's over here trying to set you up because she's Creole.
Oh no, honey, it's good.
Boudin,
No, so what is it, like
that?
pig intestines?
Oh, you know what my
What is boudin?
No.
It's like
You know a
sausage.
place I love? Commander's Palace. Love the food there.
What was your favorite dish there?
Oh my gosh. Well, I stepped out on a complete edge and tried turtle soup,
Was it
which
good?
they're known for. I just took one little bite of someone else's. I'm like, I think I'm good. Just the thought of it kind of freaked me out a little bit, but it
was it
actually
good?
was better. It was good. It was better than I thought it would be.
They just got to change the name of it. That's it.
Right, but there was some dish, I have to remember, there was one dish that I had there that, in fact, I ate there last Mother's Day when I was there filming Get Hard. I ate at Commander's Palace.
See?
I have to remember what I had. It was just scrumptious.
Yes, all of our New Orleans fans, feel free to send us some food
Right.
here in
Just
LA.
ship it.
It's nothing,
Ship it.
nothing like New Orleans.
Yes.
You guys. We're
Yes. So you currently star on Tyler Perry's hit show If Loving You Is Wrong, which has it's a very multicultural
is.
cast as well. It's so much drama.
Yes.
So much drama. And it's
I
on
love that whole
OWN.
cast. I love you guys so much.
Thank you.
Wait, what is it like working for him and being in that place, especially since technically his boss would be Oprah, I guess? Like, so your boss
Business
is
partner.
Oprah? Right. So your boss is Oprah. Okay.
Yeah.
So how is it working on that show?
So inspiring, honestly. Working there at Tyler Perry Studios, first of all, I'm convinced that Tyler Perry Studios is holy ground. I'm so serious. Like, literally, there was one year where I drove up, didn't know Tyler, had never been to the studios, anything. It was New Year's Day. And I was in Atlanta visiting my family. And my husband and I were about to drive up to Virginia, right? So we're going to do like a road trip. And I said, wait, sweetie, I need you to drive me by Tyler Perry Studios. And he's like, what? We on the road.
Right.
I said, no, I need you to turn the car around. I need you to drive me to Tyler Perry Studios. And so he drives me there. And then the people are like, ma'am, it's New Year's Day. And you have no pass, no one on this lot. What are you doing here, And so they wouldn't let me through. It was closed. I said, that's all right. I got out of the car and I just put my foot on the ground. I just literally stuck my foot out and I started praying.
Amen.
And I just started praying over this place. I prayed over and at that point I just felt like there's something about this place that I'm connected to, that I'm supposed to pay attention to. And I just said that prayer. And then I got back in the car and we drove off. And that was that was, I think, the year before I ended up getting cast in the show. Yeah.
Look at that.
And
Divine order
so
completely.
now, like, going to work there every day, and they're like, oh yes, Miss Findley, come on in.
Oh.
Like, hi, thank you. Thank you very much.
I have arrived.
I
You
know,
know,
right?
but it's there's something literally very special and very holy about that place. Tyler prays over us like every morning before we even begin production. Where does that happen?
Right.
I've never experienced that. Like you said, I've worked in a lot of places, on a lot of shows. I've never experienced that. Someone who's gathered everyone together from the carpenters to the hairstylists to the cooks
Right.
to the actors to the producers and writers, and just bring everybody together, and just bless us
my goodness.
all before we go off and do our respective, art forms is incredible.
I'm gonna need you to touch me later and give me some of that favor.
Hey.
Yes, thank you.
As I learned early on, favor ain't fair.
It sure ain't, honey.
Okay, God is not a respecter of persons. If he can do it for me,
Oh, yes.
You better say that. And then also, so for this show, because we've had a few people sitting there. April Parker Jones has been there. Yes, we've had a lot of people that have worked
Literally,
for.
I love this whole cast.
Yes, Andre Hall, Jacqueline Beetham, a lot of people that have been on different shows for him, and they talk about how you got to be on your A game because he shoots so quickly. And there's a lot of dialogue. Is that the same with your show as well?
we do have to be super prepared, super prepared. And so it's interesting because a lot of up and coming artists, they'll lament of all the auditions and I gotta be here and I gotta be there and I gotta learn this script, I gotta learn this role. But it's all preparation,
Right.
because when it's time, and when we're shooting, it's time. So we could go home at midnight, you could turn back around and have to be back in the makeup chair at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you need to have all your lines memorized for the next day. So you have to have a very high stamina and just a very disciplined work ethic,
Right.
to be able to do these shows.
Man, well, it's a great show, so make sure you guys check out If Loving You Is Wrong on OWN every Tuesday night, 8 Central.
Yes.
I feel like you have to say it like that. It's just a drama-filled show. Okay, so you are also in the movie that's out right now in theaters, Get Hard with Kevin Hart and Will Ferrell.
Yes.
And you play Kevin Hart's wife.
Yes.
And girl, you are hilarious. We have a clip.
Oh, do you?
Yes, we have a clip, so we have to play it. Let's go ahead and play that clip, Alexis. Yes. Okay, so it's going to take a second. So while she pulls it up, let's just talk about you being on this movie. We'll play it in a second, Alexis. But what was it like? Because you're here with Will Ferrell. You're here with Kevin Hart, two of the funniest men in comedy.
Yes.
Like, how did you keep a straight face on that set?
Honestly, half the time I couldn't. Half the time I'm like exploding with laughter and just hoping that the camera is not picking me up. I'm like, hopefully the camera's on Will so that I can just have my moment and come back to myself.
Right.
Because there were, especially during the improvised parts, where things just happen unexpected. It's like, oh my gosh, I was
We gotta
not
see
ready.
that blooper reel.
Oh,
Right.
that blooper reel. Oh man, the blooper reel. It will take
would
you
be
to another
amazing.
level. It will.
Hey, that's a
It
whole nother
will.
movie in itself. Like, we're
It
just going to
is.
have a whole movie of bloopers.
It is.
Right.
But I just loved, everything about it. Will and Kevin, they're both so generous and so kind, and very welcoming, for me, especially because I've done so much drama, you know what I mean? And so at first I was a little bit nervous. I'm like, I'm going into a comedy and how's that going to be? And so, I'm doing improv classes and this and that. And I'm like, I got to be ready for them. I got to be ready, but just for us to gel, as this family, on the movie and to be with people who I respect so much and greatly admire is always a dream.
Well, let's see how you did, honey. Let's see how you did. Go ahead and play it.
What reason did you give him to assume that you went to jail?
I was being black.
You're not exactly a thug, Darnell.
All I gotta do is talk a little deeper.
I'm gonna say goodnight.
Bitch, don't walk away from me. What the hell did you say? Stop! What is...
I'm sorry. That arm swung extra. That was an extra rotation. Extra rotation.
That was coming out of socket, honey.
You did. Did you really hit him, by the way?
Multiple times.
Oh my
In fact, I
gosh.
started, he's on his whole little health kick. That body is diesel. I was like, oh my gosh. Blow my hand.
Oh my goodness! But I thought I was like, is this like stunt? Like, okay, we're not gonna let you hit him for real.
They're playing
Look,
this
let's slow mo.
Oh my goodness.
And that's about how many times I had to do it.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness! Were you
man.
bruised up? Was he bruised
Right,
up?
fully. Like, there was a point where they were like, okay, stop.
Like, no,
Because
one
my
more.
arm was
One more
We got it. We got it.
Oh, man.
No,
Yeah,
that
good
movie
times.
is hilarious. Do you think you're gonna do more comedy now?
Yes.
Good.
Yes. It's funny because right before that, I was working on Veep on HBO, and it was the same casting director, and she mostly does comedies, like all the big comedy movies. She's the casting director, Bridesmaid. I mean, just everything. Like, she cast, and so it was kind of great, you know, going in for her and like hearing everybody laughing and hollering, you know, because especially in this business, if you become known for something, sometimes people don't see you as something else, right? And I think that's one of the blessings of training too, that you know how to go in and out of different mediums and in and out of different styles of acting. And so it definitely did something for me. You know, it made me feel good that, wow, now I'm able to move around a lot more, like even within the comedy space. So that was nice. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to a lot more comedy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then what upcoming projects do you have?
Oh, well, we go back to start filming season 2 of the show. We go back in about 2 weeks.
Okay.
To start filming the whole next season of If Loving You Is Wrong.
Okay.
I have another movie coming out called Free Indeed, which is based on a true story of a young woman who has 2 small children. They're all living in poverty. The oldest child is autistic, and she's desperately looking for healing and a cure for her child. And the other movie I have coming out is called Where Children Play, and that's a family drama as well. And then I have one more movie that's in pre-production called All the Children Are Insane, and that's kind
horror
of a
movie?
family. No, actually, no. There are some like thriller elements of it, which is funny. You all didn't ask me about my one and only horror movie, which was another genre, you know, kind of genre twist for me.
What was the name of it?
Insidious 2.
Oh yeah, you were in that. Did you like have to go pray every day before you went on set? Like, I don't want this.
Like, y'all know me. I was like, Lord, in Jesus' name. Lord, if there's some spirits up in here, bind them. Father, bind these spirits. Let me be able to walk free in Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
No, I really did on set. I asked one of the hairstylists, or no, the makeup artist, and she was doing my makeup. I was like, so, and I tried to keep it real casual. I was like, so, because she does all their movies, right? The whole, you know, all their horror movies. And I said, so, have you ever seen any, you know, try to keep it real calm. Have you ever seen anything unusual happen on any of these horror sets you've been working on? She was like, oh yeah, all the time. And she was like, oh girl, yeah, we were in the basement and this like metal thing started walking toward us.
Oh my gosh.
We were all freaked out and we had the video on our cell phones. You want to see it? I'm like,
No.
Rebuke.
no, I'm okay. I'm all right.
Man.
So yeah, I absolutely believe in the supernatural.
Man.
My goodness. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and talk about Abundant Life You. I think that's a good little segue. Let's get off of that. Let's review that and let's talk about.
Come off the ghost.
Yes.
Yes, tell us about it.
Tell us about it.
You know, and by the way, I be getting emails, girl. I'm coming to one of the seminars. You'll see me in there. Don't act like you don't know me either.
Megan, what is this post?
Edwina.
What is this post?
I'm coming to the
I
Abundant
know
Life
that was
You.
so sweet. You said you've heard me speak at a couple of
Oh my gosh, you're
events.
so amazing. You are so inspirational. God definitely has his hands over you, honey. And I was in there like, I don't know this girl, but I love her. She's awesome. So yeah, tell us about Abundant Life You and why you decided to do that.
Abundant Life started literally about 10 years ago in New York, and I literally it was in a season of my life where I just felt such an overflow of inspiration. Like no matter where I went, I just felt like I have to spread the word, right? So, I mean, I was in the projects. I was all over New York City. And I had gotten a job with a psychologist who was doing these stress management workshops. And I was like, sure, I'll help people relieve their stress. And I had just come out of college, and literally I was like in the Bronx and in Brooklyn and Queens and Harlem, just Staten Island, all over New York City, doing these empowerment workshops and inspirational workshops. And then finally I ended up transitioning from his company and starting my own organization, Abundant Life View. And then myself and my team, we just started traveling all over the country and empowering people and teaching them how to discover their purpose, teaching them how to manifest dreams, teaching them about vision. Mm-hmm. And then we started this whole artist component that was specific to artists who are either in or desire to be in the entertainment industry. Okay. And so now we have launched a school right here in LA for artists, and we've launched with a boot camp called Artist CEO, which is really about managing the business side of your life, of your finances as an artist and creative professional, as well as developing a strategic plan for your career. Very important. So we meet every Saturdays. It's all day. I mean, we go all the way in, you know, but I am really empowered by transformation. You know, like Oprah talks a lot about the aha moment, you know, which gets her excited. And I'm kind of like that too when I'm either giving keynote addresses or when I'm giving workshops or doing panels or doing, you know, seminars or conferences or whatever it is. I just love when people receive something that's going to actually take them into, you know, launch them into another level of life. That gets me really excited. And so, yeah, that's what I do when I'm not on set. I'm empowering people.
Yes. I can tell that you're passionate about it. You're beaming about it when you talk about it.
That's your baby.
You.
I see it. That's
Thank
everything.
you.
And so where can people find out more about Abundant Life View, or if they want to check you out on social media, where can they find you?
Sure. Well, everything is housed on my website, edwinafindley.com. My Twitter, Instagram are both at Edwina Findley. And my Facebook is Edwina Findley Dickerson.
Oh, wait, before we go, so let's talk about that, because you have the little hyphenation, I guess.
It's not hyphenation. In fact, my husband did not want a hyphenation, which I still don't really understand why, like what the difference is between, you know, two different names and a hyphenated name. I don't know.
Right.
Honestly, I added Dickerson because I felt like, you know, a lot of people in the industry, the woman will keep their name and the husband will keep their name, but then you can never call them like Mr. and Mrs. someone, right? And I just felt like I want to be a Mr. and Mrs.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm still young. I don't want to have to go the whole rest of my life and not be able to be a Mrs. someone, right? And so I felt like that was the best way to start transitioning into that name, because everyone knows Edwina Findley. So I'm like, I'm just going to put in that Dickerson.
Right.
So that eventually maybe I can be like Edwina F. Dickerson. You know what I mean? Then I can be Edwina Dickerson. So it's a little bit of a transition. I'm still learning. It's been about 2 years of marriage, but I love it. And I definitely am so appreciative for my husband and appreciative to have found true love.
Yes. We love it. You can definitely check Edwina Findley Dickerson out on Owns If Loving You Is Wrong every Tuesday, 9, 8 Central. And don't forget to check out Get Hard in theaters now. You'll see it with Kevin Hart and Will Ferrell. Where can we find you, lovely lady?
You guys can always keep in touch with me at Tezeno on Twitter and Instagram. Let us know what you thought about this episode. Edwina's awesome.
Yes. And you can find me, Megan Thomas, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Meg Scoop. Let me know what you think about BHL Next with the hashtag BHL Next.
All right.
Till next week, y'all. We will see ya.
Bye.
Bye.
From producers Maria Menounos, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire BHL crew, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us at info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I'm your BHL announcer, Scipio. Instagram me at Planet Scipio. Thank you for tuning in.
Hollywood Redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.